Our third heresy, which was one of the largest heresies of the first couple centuries of our church, is named after a 3rd century Egyptian priest named Arius. Again, a priest. You have these heretics that are firmly committed to the faith. They just didn't really know that their belief was contrary to the faith, or they advocated that their belief should be the faith. If these heresies weren't squashed, it's very possible that our Christianity could have been one of these that I'm talking about. The name of this heresy is called Arianism. Arianism I refer to as your Superman heresy. Arianism taught that Jesus was half God, not equal to God, but more than being human. Hence the name, the Superman heresy. He was better than us, but not quite the same substance as God.
There was a time when the sun was not. These are the words that Arius brought. He had his essence from the non-existent. He is not equal, no, nor one in essence with the Father.
What scripture could have promoted Arianism? Well, the Garden of Gethsemane. I mean, think about it. What is Jesus doing in the Garden of Gethsemane? He's praying to his Father and asking for permission. That shows a certain degree of power, right? That he has to ask for permission. And that's what the Arianists ran with. That Jesus was not the same as God, but he was more than us. I mean, think of those miracles he was able to do. We can't do that unless you're Superman. Other scholars point to Paul's writings as a source of Arianism. Some scholars suggest that Paul was a closeted Arianist because he never went as far as saying that Jesus was of the same substance of God, but he certainly recognized that Jesus was more than a human being. And let's just think about that for a second. Paul wrote in the 50s. This is 20 years after Jesus' ministry. Paul wrote before the Gospels. He's the first person to start giving us a Christology, a theology on Jesus. There's nothing wrong to think that Paul may not have fully realized that Jesus was 100% God. I mean, after all, Paul was a Pharisee. He was putting people to death for blasphemy.
That's for blasphemy.
So growing up as a Pharisee and always being taught there is only one God and you shall not have any graven images of God, to go as far then as saying that Jesus is God would have been a pretty huge stretch, a pretty big leap for Paul to take. But Paul certainly recognized that there was something special about Jesus. There was a spark of divinity in Jesus. How much God was Jesus? Paul never stated. Paul didn't realize it. Again, we don't indicate how much Jesus was God until the 4th and the 5th century. Are there any scriptures that we can use to combat Arianism? Yeah, all of John's Gospel. All of John's Gospel is proving that Jesus is God. Or at the very least, the prologue. In the beginning there was the Word, the Logos. The Logos was with God, the Logos was God. If that doesn't disprove Arianism, I don't know what does, in terms of scripture at least. But unfortunately, Arianism grows into a very, very popular heresy that is really hard to suppress. Some statistics have even gone as far as saying over 50% of Christians were Arianist at one point. Some people today that call themselves Christian might be actually closeted Arianist. If you believe that the hierarchy of power is God above Jesus, above man, you're kind of doing what Paul did. Recognizing that Jesus is more than us, but he's not the same as God, you're an Arianist.